Came home from town the other day and my steel delivery had arrived, dumped in the driveway, but pretty easy to drag it up here. This is just over $2,000 worth of steel. $2,055.41, I think, is the total bill with delivery. That's a big investment. But if I turn all of this into finished product, it's more like $30,000 or $40,000 worth of finished product, depending on what all I make and depending on whether or not I have some waste. So now it's time to make at least 4 dozen holdfasts, get them on the Etsy shop, get those sold, and then I'm at least at the break-even point on the material. And no, this is not going to be just another video about making holdfast. I think I've done that video so many times that there's not much point in it, at least not for another couple of years. What I really thought I would do today is just kind of talk about what's going on in the shop, explain some of the things that you may have seen that you didn't quite understand, and try and bring some context to some of that kind of stuff. Now, before somebody gets too excited about the profitability for that pile of material out in the driveway, that's gross income over an extended period of time, however long it takes me to use that up. Some of it will be used up and I'll need to reorder, by the end of summer, hopefully, but some of it will live on my stock rack for several years to come, and it's just stuff that I was running low on and I like to keep on hand so I don't have to go to the steel yard every time I need to buy something. Plus, you have to factor in overhead, and that's an important business concept. If you don't understand what your overhead is, you really don't understand how much money you're making. So as an example, let's say this fireplace poker sells to a customer for $200 and it took me 2 hours to make the poker. Immediately, people's mind go to $100 per hour. That's a wonderful wage. That's a shop rate, not an actual wage. Out of that comes everything it takes to run the shop for that amount of time. So there's the materials that are out on the driveway, there's coal or coke or propane or electricity, depending on what kind of a forge you're using. There's the electricity just to run the lights in the shop or run a power hammer if you're using that kind of equipment. For me, there's internet expenses. To sell stuff on the internet costs money. Processing credit cards costs money. All that stuff has an expense. General shop upkeep, insurance, lots of things going to overhead. And year after year, my overhead is about 50%. That's not necessarily an industry average. That's just what it works out for me because I like to reinvest in my shop, buy new tools and new equipment, and keep things moving forward so I've got nice stuff to work with. So that means that $200 is now $100 that's going to go in my pocket. So is that $50 an hour? The truth is, that's not even $50 an hour because 2 hours in the shop is just the time to make the thing. That doesn't include photographing it to list it online, setting up the online listing, emailing back and forth with one customer or several potential customers, packaging, going to the post office, getting it shipped, all of that stuff, and the time to cut that material down so I can put it on the rack and store it and have it available in the future. And of course, there's all the chores in the shop that need doing that nobody's paying you for. So that pretty much doubles any amount of time. So now my 2 hours is more like 4 hours, and that $100 is more like $25 an hour that is my actual wage. Now, that's just an example. I don't know that those numbers are accurate. And it changes considerably depending on what the project is. So when we talk about the business of blacksmithing, knowing what your expenses are is really important, and you have to keep records, and you have to keep records long term to kind of figure out what that average is, because it goes up and down depending on the month. If you buy something like a new vise, that's a pretty big expense one month, but you're not going to buy one every month, so then it averages out and it becomes less over time. Or for that matter, if you're making YouTube videos and you buy a really nice camera or some nice lights, hopefully you don't have to do that more than once every couple of years. The thing I really want to talk about today, though, is that yes, this is a business. What I'm doing in the shop, most of it has to produce an income. I do stuff for around the house, stuff for friends, neighbors, family, things like that, that I don't get paid for. But generally, what I'm doing up here is profit-oriented, even though the profit itself isn't really the bottom line. If I was just in this for the money, this would be the wrong career path, and certainly making YouTube videos isn't a way to get rich quick. So while a big paycheck is not the reason I'm a blacksmith, and it's not the reason I make YouTube videos, they still have to produce a profit, they still have to pay the bills. There's a popular concept in money management or finance, whatever you want to call it. Don't put all your eggs in one basket, or diversify your income streams. So for me, I do have a pension from the fire department, and for a number of reasons we don't really need to discuss, it's kind of a minimal pension. It's considered an early retirement, so it's nowhere near what a full retirement pension would have been. And it pays enough every month to cover health insurance, dental insurance, the co-pays at doctors and dentists. And boy, this year it seems like we had a lot of dental expenses. We were in there a lot, but hopefully we got some stuff taken care of. Anyways, it pays all of that kind of stuff. It pays the homeowner's insurance, the car insurance, and buys groceries. But that's pretty much it. If I want money for blacksmithing to buy new tools and equipment, or if Janet and I just want to take a trip somewhere for a day or two, all of that income comes from somewhere else. And that's why I continue to work in the blacksmith shop, even though technically I'm retired from my full-time career. So here in the shop, my income streams are also diversified into blacksmithing and what I do for YouTube. And here in the blacksmith shop, those income streams are further diversified. At one point, I took out ads in muzzleloading magazines and had a little catalog I'd mail out to people and did mail order sales. Then the internet became something that was more viable, and I got a website, do internet sales, do some in-person type shows, craft shows, hand tool events, things like that. Used to go to the rendezvous to sell things, and custom orders and commissions. Now it's really just the internet sales. I don't do much of that other stuff, although we do have a big hand tool show coming up in September, and that's usually a pretty big event, and I got to spend a lot of time this summer getting ready for it. And the other thing that I do for income is, of course, the YouTube videos. And there's always got to be a balance between what I'm doing in the shop and running the shop for the purpose of being a professional blacksmith shop, and what I'm doing for the YouTube videos, because sometimes those things butt heads. I've got all sorts of camera stuff. I've got lights that are set up semi-permanently that are frequently in my way. One of my lockers that used to hold spare parts and extra cans of wax and finishes, now all camera equipment and all that other stuff had to go somewhere else. So they are kind of competing. But when I make a change here in the shop, such as moving the coal forge out so that the gas forge can be in the best working location, because I work in the gas forge most of the time, that's a business decision. That's not a YouTube decision. The forge stayed here for so long because it looks cool in the YouTube videos, and I like using it, but it isn't a good business decision for me. Really, this was the most freeing and energizing thing that I have done up here, probably since I got the power hammer. And suddenly, I'm spending more time in the shop. I'm enjoying the time more. I'm not leaning across the anvil to get to the gas forge over there, having to swap the induction forge and the gas forge because I want to use one or the other. Everything that I really use in this shop is right here. It's super convenient, super practical. And like I say, this was a very positive change. But it was not a YouTube decision. Somebody commented on that video of YouTube ruins another one. Not sure what they mean by that, but this decision was really about being more efficient and more productive as a blacksmith so that I could have more time later to do YouTube videos. The more efficient I am with the customer projects, the more time I have to do more videos. And I know a lot of you would like to see more videos here. Now, speaking of YouTube videos, that also has to produce an income. That is part of my business model, and it has been for probably 6 or 7 years. YouTube starts off as just kind of a fun thing to do, but as it grows, as you invest more in lights, invest more in cameras, invest in wireless microphone systems, all of that kind of stuff, something has to pay for that, and something has to pay for the time. If I spend 20 hours a week working on a video, that's 20 hours a week I'm not making customer product that hypothetically pays $25 an hour. And YouTube videos don't pay $25 an hour, not even close. But they do have to produce enough income to be worth doing. So if you get tired of those annoying ads at the beginning and the middle of the video, you have to understand that's part of what's paying the bills. Sponsorships help pay the bills, and Patreon patrons and channel members also help pay the bills. All of that stuff is part of that diversified income from YouTube, or not putting all my eggs in one basket. If YouTube suddenly demonetized me completely tomorrow, I still have a little bit of income coming from those other things that will help while I regroup and figure out what to do or take care of whatever the YouTube problem was. No, there's no threat from YouTube or anything like that. That's not what I'm talking about. But that's kind of why you diversify your income streams, just in case something happens that you couldn't foresee. Now, honestly, one of the best ways to support a YouTube channel and help them succeed in what they're doing is just to watch the videos from beginning to end. YouTube is about views and watch time. Clicking on a video and clicking right off doesn't do much good, but if you watch the entire video or nearly the entire video, that really helps any YouTube channel whose content you like. And of course, if you rewind it and watch it twice, that's even better. But for those people who would like to support the channel in a little bit bigger manner, they'd actually like to be part of the process, help fund the videos. And for those folks, there are channel members and Patreon patronage. Those are really donations that's not required. You don't have to do that. And you're not missing out on the videos that I intend for the regular YouTube audience if you don't contribute to one of those sites. However, like I say, YouTube is about watch time and views, and that means I have to edit videos that most of the people on YouTube are going to watch. The more casual viewers aren't interested in a lot of this back and forth talking, and most of those folks have probably already left this video. Based on the statistical averages, there's probably only about 20 or 30% of you left watching this video at this point. And for the folks that are more serious about the videos, they want this kind of interaction, there's almost always stuff that I edit out for the YouTube video that I would still like to put in the video. And I'm going to start making that stuff available for the Patreon patrons and for the channel members as what I call a director's cut. I'm not necessarily filming specific stuff to put on those. It's stuff that's already filmed and was just cut out of the video for YouTube. Now, people say, oh, don't chase the algorithm. The truth is, the algorithm is chasing you as a viewer, and my job as a video creator is to be ahead of the algorithm, creating the videos that you want to watch. So when the majority of the viewers want a little bit shorter, quicker paced videos, that's what I have to do for YouTube. And the only practical way for me to share that extra bit is to use it as a thank you for the channel members and the Patreon patrons. I know at one point when I was blinded by naive idealism, I made some rather foolish statements. If you'd like to support the channel financially, there are links down in the description for PayPal and Patreon, but those are simply donation. It's not expected, and the videos will remain free. There is no paid content. Now, over time, you realize statements like that really were inappropriate. It's not practical. It's not realistic. And quite frankly, it's probably taking money out of my pocket. To make all the content that I create free here on YouTube really limits a lot of my opportunities. Occasionally, there's a channel sponsor who wants extra content that they can use on their own website or in their own advertising. That's stuff you would never see on YouTube. That's behind a paywall that only those sponsors can get to because they paid for it. If a local business hired me to make a video for their business that they're going to put on their Facebook page or their own YouTube channel, again, that's paid content they're paying for. I'm not going to share that here for free just because I once implied that that's what I was going to do. There has to be a limit to that kind of thing. And the same thing applies if I ever decide to make DVDs, or maybe I want to do an online course and put a whole lot of extra time and effort into creating a very professional, well-organized online course. I can't give that for free if I do that. If I wrote a book, I wouldn't give the book away for free. So viewers really have to be aware that even though I give most of what I'm creating away for free right here on YouTube, there's a limit to that, and I always have to maintain my options to do what I feel is best. So at some point in the future, there could be exclusive content for channel members or Patreon patrons if I feel it's appropriate at that time. It's really unrealistic to hold somebody to statements they made when they had no idea what the future was going to hold, and I really don't want to make any promises of what I'm going to do 2 years from now, 5 years from now, 10 years from now. I do hope to still be making videos by then, but I need the freedom to run the business side of my YouTube channel the way I need to and not have my feet held to the fire because I said something stupid 3 or 4 years ago. Now, as far as channel members and Patreon patrons go, if you're thinking about helping out through one of those sites, Patreon actually takes less of a cut than YouTube does. YouTube takes something like 30% off the top. Patreon is currently 5% for the plan I'm in, so it helps the channel out more if you're contributing through Patreon than channel members. But channel membership is probably easier for a lot of people because it's right here on YouTube, so it's whatever works for you. But there is a third option that's available. I'm starting to work with a new platform called Zarda. This is an ad-free, subscription-free video platform that uses microtransactions to fund the platform and pay creators. So they charge 10 cents to unlock a video. You can watch the first 30 seconds, minute, 2 minutes, whatever the creator sets as a preview, absolutely for free. If you really want to watch the whole video, you pay 10 cents and you can watch the entire video and come back and watch it as many times as you want at that point. And that has some real potential for people that would like to see some of that bonus content but don't want to commit to $5 or $10 a month through Patreon or channel membership. And they can do it for 10 cents a video. And I'll put a link for Zarda down in the video description. It's just an option. I'm not switching all my content over there. I still plan to do just what I'm doing on YouTube, right here on YouTube for years into the future. So you shouldn't have to worry about that. Unless, of course, YouTube goes belly up, which is always a risk, I suppose, but pretty unlikely. Now, my plan for this year was to make one really good video per month here on Black Bear Forge, really take my time doing that, but so many other things are competing for my time right now. I'm trying to make some changes in the shop, make some improvements to be more efficient. So a video about taking the coal forge out was the video that I had time to make. And there are a few other videos along that line. And this video here that aren't big project videos. So I hope you enjoy watching these. It's a good way to stay in touch. And while I still want to do those big projects, they're probably not going to happen for a few more months yet. I think going into summer, I've got so much stuff to do that we're going to continue to do simpler projects and look at some improvements I'm making around here. And then there's some news about the coal forge that those who decided to unsubscribe because it wasn't in the shop are just going to miss out on. But I think you'll see it again, just not in this building. Anyways, I've yammered on long enough. For those of you who stuck it out to the very end, I really appreciate it. That helps a lot. If I could trouble you to give the video a thumbs up, I'd appreciate that. And if you're not a subscriber, I'd love it if you hit that subscribe button. I hope you have time in your day to get out to your shop, make something, stay safe, wear your safety glasses. We'll see you for the next video.